Hello, hello. So this is my current League starter build, and it is currently the highest life monk build on the server, as far as I can tell. And the reason for that is using this new unique belt here, in combo with one of the martial artists' new belt transformations here. So the way this works, this gives us thorns for 8 to 12% of our maximum life, hence why we're stacking as much life as possible. This then deals that thorns damage whenever I critically hit an enemy with a melee attack. So I've got it set up with this quarterstaff that's got decent attack speed and good crit chance, so we have a very high crit rate. And then whenever we whirling assault, that crits the enemies, and our health turns into thorns damage. That thorns damage turns into real damage, and that's the gist of it. So in theory, you could use any staff. You didn't have to use or use any weapon. You wouldn't have to use a staff, but I went for staff because whirling assault seems to be mechanically the best way to go. And then there's another key element to this, the life recovery. So if you actually read all the lines on the belt, the only flask can recover above low life. So you'll see here, if I go into a town zone, my life here gets chopped down to below life, so only a third here. That's because of this belt. But I can get away with still having full life using the new body armor here, that the flash recovery is applied constantly. And that still applies through the belt. So you see, whenever we go into a new zone, the game will reset us to low life, but then it charges right up. And it's actually quite nice, because then that gives us, over 1,000 life recovery from the flask, and that's kind of our main defense for our recovery there from that. So that's the key to it. Currently the build, overall, I'm still using Veil of the Night to get more life, as well as solve elemental resistances, because I've got a lot of uniques. So eventually, long term, probably replace this with a good helmet once I can replace the boots. But for now, this is quite great. The life is great, and the no LA resistance is kind of a upside, because getting LA resistance with only a couple pieces of gear would be really tough at this point. So this is nice. And then the boots here, I need these boots now to give crit chance to the thorn damage. Otherwise, the thorns damage doesn't have any crit itself. Eventually, there's a rune you can get that gives the thorns damage crit without the boots, so I can get a better pair of boots and go from there. But this is the setup I've been progressing with, getting up to T7, T8s with the mapping, so still a ways to go. But yeah, pretty nice to be able to have a large life pool like this and turn all that life into damage. Other gear-wise, just getting life and chaos res, life on the other jewelry pieces. So yeah, let's hop into a map here and see what it looks like. There's nothing too crazy in the demo side, just because at the end of the day it just boils down to whatever melee skill you want to use. So for me, using the assault like this is where I'm getting my damage. So plenty of damage to just run around through packs. For rares, using the bell here. We'll talk skills and some other tech here in a minute. So you can see that was doing Ellie damage there, and you know, the Ellie does hit harder with Veil of the Night, but the extra life pool kind of makes up for it, at least at this point of the game. So there's some other things going on as well that are kind of secondary, but are pretty synergistic with this build. With the bells, I'm using the new spirit gem that gives me the ward remnants to kind of keep my ward up, and using that for this ward attack here with the lightning bolt. This is considered attack, so I think it gets the thorns damage. I can double check, but it's an attack, so it'll also hit the bell. So you can see there, as that beam is hitting the bell, that procs our bell. So it's a nice way to combo. Putting a bunch of bells down like this, and then you putting down the this thing to proc it as well is pretty cool. So yeah, the ward remnants help with that, and then also help with refutation here, whatever it is. That is pretty OP. You hit that and you just block everything for like 4 to 5 seconds. So yeah, you can just be immune to hit damage. Nice and fun stuff there. So for like big Ellie hits, I haven't really seen anything too crazy in this map, but basically put that that skill in to help deal with Ellie hits and like the ground effects that the heralds, that type of stuff. All right, here we go. So like for this guy, get our combo up, push down the bells, get all our bells out, hit like this, use the laser beam to proc the bells more. This guy doesn't really do anything worth blocking. Let's see, I can hit this. So yeah, you can hit all the buffs up and just don't take any damage. So pretty powerful with that. And the cooldown, and that's all pretty good. So yeah, gameplay mechanically, pretty standard monk stuff, but the nice thing is being able to scale with life, so you get a really nice life pool with that. So let's look at, oh yeah, be sure to click your tower. With Tempest Beld, you can use Ancestral Call, since the bell can be empowered now, and this is like an empowerment thing. And so that's can summon down 2 or 3 bells at the same time, which is pretty fun. And then, oh yeah, for thorns damage stuff, pinpoint critical and like this critical support here. These don't affect your thorns damage, right? So scaling the thorns damage is a little bit different because it's not attack damage and it's not coming from the skill. So this critical is giving the Whirling Assault more critical strike chance. Same with this, is giving increased crit strike chance, but the crit damage, like the less crit damage bonus, doesn't apply to the thorns damage. And same here, this less damage doesn't apply to the thorns damage, since it's the gloves are you deal your thorns damage, and this is only affecting the skill. So these sort of skill effects, same with this, like rapid attacks, the 50% less damage doesn't matter because the skill's doing less damage. The skill is proccing a crit, and then this gloves is then dealing that thorns damage based off the crit. So other things in here, the hollow focus for the bells, doing the similar thing. So having crit chance on the bells, basically just another attack hit that can proc this, since it's another melee attack hit. I think it's a melee attack hit. I'll have to double check that, but you do want to be careful because it's only melee here, but giving an extra limit for the bells and cooldown. The bells aren't doing too much, but they're fun to have. And then the lightning bolts with knockback, since the bell gets more area on knockback, so that's a nice combo there. Faster attacks. This I'm using less and less, but this does work with empowering the bell as well, so you can hit this before you hit the bell, and then anything the bells kills will give you the purple flames here. And this purple flames buff does buff your thorns damage, because it's just a generic 7 damage as extra chaos damage. So if you stack that up to 10, that's 70% of your thorns damage will be extra chaos damage. But it's an extra button to push, so something there. For the spirit buffs, I do get a lot of spirit because this gives 50% less spirit, or reserve less spirit, so I can stack a lot more into it. Currently using attrition. I'm not sure if I'll keep using attrition, but it's working for now to give us stuff like this for increased thorns damage, and then increase recovery rate from life flasks, since all our recovery is from our flasks over here. And then mana as well. I think this still works, that you can have 2 separate ones and it's doubles up, so plop that in there, assuming it works. And some extra remnant stuff, so don't need any, whatever you need for the remnants there. Then the OP buff here that take no hit damage for extra duration, casting, cooldown, and then Flicker Straight for movement, that's optional. So yeah, that's what we got skill-wise. And then in the passive tree. So the main nodes you need are the Stone Fist to convert the gloves over. These, what are these called? Dreadfists, convert those over. And then I went for this to just stack up all these body runes and then the bells as well. So if you wanted to do other weapons, you could go combo. For a long time before I got this set up, I was doing combo with spear and twisters to build combo and using bell to proc the bell, but it's an option, but you can kind of do whatever you want. I tested out this as well, and it works, but the AoE is so small, it's kind of not super useful, at least yet. So I'm not sure what my 4th point's going to be. It might be Way the Mountain and see how that goes. The hollow form doesn't do much for us because you have to crit, so the hollow form critting doesn't do anything. And then for the tree is still very much a work in progress, but just focusing on getting crit chance up here, skill speed, stuff like that, area for the attacks here and here. You don't need any attack damage because the thorns damage does not scale by attack damage. So I could get these like physical damage would scale the thorns, but attack damage does not. Some other key things with this particular setup, since my life flask is constantly being applied, any node that's during any flask effect or during life flask effect is constantly applied. So this is just always 25% increased damage. Since it's generic damage, it scales our thorn damage, and the 6% attack speed. These other flask nodes, like increased life recovery, those all boost our regen. And then over here, more crits. Since I'm scaling life, got a bunch of grand spectrums for increased life, so you get 3 of those. Skill speed, movement speed, and yeah, all the life stuff there. Life crit, pretty basic tree. Definitely not a final tree. I'm still deciding if I want to maybe go down here for more strength and more life down here, or what my defense is going to look like once I get different rare gear or something like that. Also, I did test out Heavy Drinker because this looks appealing, but unfortunately you do not get any guard from the constant effect on Heavy Drinker, but the 20% recovery does work. So yeah, that's the basics of the build and the tree where it's at. Scaling wise, it's just going to continue to stack more life to get more damage, to get more defense, so pretty nice to combine all those vectors together. And something that, if you're looking for something off meta, it still uses meta skills, but off meta scaling, pretty fun little setup, worth trying, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.